Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. So today, you guys, first thing in the morning, we got the notification that we were approved for this house that we want to rent for a year. I don't know how long we'll stay there, but we're going to be there while we try and sell this house in Kansas. We're moving to Independence, Missouri. And we were in such a good mood. And then afterwards, we have this just kind of not so great negative experience that went contrary to the idea of us moving to this house. And it made me think of what I want to share with you here. We're looking at a book called Life of Heber C. Kimball, and it has to do with Joseph Smith when he moved to far west Missouri, and he purchased this house, and then he has an encounter with Satan that is really kind of freaky. Satan tells Joseph Smith, "You have no right to be here. This is my area." And I needed to cover this anyway because I have this spreadsheet called Quotes, Visions, and Visitations, where I'm trying to collect every single one that I can find. And I covered this sometime at some point during my channel, but it is now time to put it on the spreadsheet. So I want to share that story with you because it's really just kind of incredible when you think about it. Because, so you have Joseph Smith that encounters this kind of issue. We had this happen today, which I feel like was kind of like an adversarial attack or resistance on what we were trying to do. And I'm sure that you're no stranger to it yourself. When you're taking the right steps in life and you're following promptings and you're doing what you believe the Lord would have you do, or something that's good for your family. Sometimes there's no right choice, but you pray, you feel good about a choice, and then you follow through. Sometimes the Lord does want you to do certain things and he prompts you to do it. And then you have the choice if you want to follow through with that or not. But I know that most of you, if not all of you, have probably had this situation where you're about to do something good, something that's good for you, for your family. It's good for you spiritually, whatever. And then there's some kind of opposition. And whether it's like you moving somewhere, you taking a new job, you choosing somebody to marry, important life decisions. Satan does not want you to be happy. He wants you to step off the covenant path. He wants to disrupt your plans. He wants to disrupt the plans of our Heavenly Father. And so he shows up. So we're going to cover this, and we're going to cover something from the David O. McKay Diaries that has to do with far west and how that's where Cain killed Abel. We know that Jackson County, Independence, Missouri, that was the site of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were cast out of the Garden of Eden. They went about 70 miles northeast to Adam-on-Diamond, and that's where they, it seems, primarily resided. But far west, it's a holy land. It's designated as a holy place in the scriptures, in Doctrine and Covenants, and it's where Cain killed Abel. And that's where this story takes place. Joseph Smith, being harassed by Satan. Okay. So we're going to look at that in just a minute. Before I do, I just want to share a couple kind of personal things. And this is not meant to be grandiose or anything, but my mom is from Portugal. Okay. All my mother's side of the family, they're all in Portugal with the exception of a couple that are here in the United States. But on my dad's side, that's where I get my pioneer ancestry. It doesn't matter if you have pioneer ancestry, but if you do have pioneer ancestry, some of these places like Missouri, Nauvoo, Illinois, Kirtland may have more meaning to you just because your ancestors lived there. And, as we realized that we were going to make this move, I wanted to double check family search and see who of my ancestors lived there in Missouri. And I'm just going to show you a couple just to kind of illustrate the point. I have this one, Nathan Bennett Baldwin. He didn't live in Missouri, but he was part of Zion's camp, which was when the saints were expelled, cast out of the lands in Missouri. There was an attempt to go back and hopefully get help from the state militia to go back peacefully and then have, Zion's camp to defend the saints if there was more persecution. Well, it didn't end up happening, but you did have Zion's Camp. Everybody knows the story. And I have this ancestor here that was part of it. Let me just read this little part here from his obituary. President Nathan B. Baldwin was the son of Aaron M. Baldwin and Julia Bishop, and was born January 27th, 1812 in Augusta, Greenville County, Upper Canada. He was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, April 27th, 1833. Let me zoom in a little bit more. By John Gould. He went shortly afterward to Kirtland, and in 1834, as a member of Zion's Camp, he traveled from Kirtland to Missouri. Okay, so he was part of Zion's Camp very shortly after his baptism and joining the church. And had that succeeded, had that been the Lord's will, the Saints, Kansas City would be Salt Lake City. Kansas City would be Salt Lake City. It would be church headquarters. But it was not time for, the city of Zion to be built. It was, the foundations were established, and, now we have some of those lands again. And now we have saints that are moving back to the Midwest, myself included, apparently. I always intended to stay in Utah, but then we moved to Arizona, then joined the Army, went to Texas, went back to Arizona, and then it became unaffordable to live anywhere west of Kansas. And so we moved to Kansas because we wanted a homestead. And now we need a bigger home, and we're just feeling like now's the time to do it. Let's upgrade. And we were just feeling prompted to go to Missouri. So for all I know, maybe it has something to do with this. It's going back to where, where we belong. Not all of us, not the entire church, but, at some point it will be the New Jerusalem. I don't know if we're going to stay there or not, but anyway, let's move on. So, and then you have Alexander Beckstead. This is another great grandparent. He lived in Far West. What's here? I don't need to read this. It's getting too long, but you can pause and read this if you want. It just talks about the fact that he lived in Far West and whatever. So it's kind of personal to me. And so when there's like this resistance, this Satan trying to get you off track, to throw a wrench in what you're trying to do and what the Lord wants you to do, it's a little bit upsetting. But you don't have to listen. You can push through. You can have faith. You should pray, fast maybe. But the amazing thing, oh my gosh, sorry. The amazing thing that happened today after that experience is immediately afterwards, we had to go to Wichita to do some errands. There's going to be a snowstorm tomorrow. I'm recording this on Monday. And I heard some yelling outside from Jenica and one of my daughters. They were like calling to me to come outside. At first I thought they were like fighting or something, but I went outside and they're like, look. And they were pointing to these birds that you see right here. Now, I am more of like an animal guy, like deer and possums and skunks and whatever. I really like watch out for that. And I also watch the skies for what's going on in the sky, because we have a good view here in Kansas. We're in a rural area. So whenever there's a comet or something going on, it's not hard to see it. And we have, it's the plains. There's no mountains to obstruct your view. That's always been my thing. But my wife and kids, they really, really like birds. And we have never seen this type of bird on our property before. This is our pasture, and here's like the fence to the pasture. And it turns out that these birds right here, notice like the blue and then like the red in the middle. Sorry, bad camera work. Yeah, like the red in the middle here and then the white in the bottom. This is the Missouri state bird, the eastern bluebird. My kids, my wife had never seen this. And like I said, they're very aware of the birds in this area. They love birds. And it just so happened that after this happened, we saw this. It was just like a tender mercy, just like a confirmation, like, yes, do it. This is the right choice. So, okay, let's go to the story of Joseph Smith and his encounter with Satan in Far West. So this is related by Heber C. Kimball. He was first counselor in the first presidency. One day while visiting Joseph, he took me a walk by the riverside when he requested me to relate the occurrence at Brother Brosier's. After I had done so, I also told him of our vision of the evil spirits in England on the opening of the gospel to that people, which, just really quick, that's actually the entry underneath this new one. So in 1837, you had this mission to Preston, England, where we have a temple now, where you had this attack from evil spirits on these brethren right here. Okay, so Joseph Smith. Okay, so Joseph Smith. He then gave me a relation of many contests that he had had with Satan and his power that had been manifested from time to time since the commencement of bringing forth the Book of Mormon. I will relate one circumstance that took place at Far West in a house that Joseph had purchased, which had been formerly occupied as a public house by some wicked people. Let me pause right there. This is one of those times I'm going to ask you, do you know what that means, that it was a public house? Like, are we talking about like, I mean, it's a house. It's not like it's like a brothel or something like that, right? Or what does that even mean? But the only thing that we need to know for right now, it was a public house that was formerly occupied by some wicked people. Okay. A short time after he got into it, one of his children was taken very sick. He laid his hands upon the child. When it got better, as soon as he had went out of the doors, the child was taken sick again. He again laid his hands upon it so that it again recovered. This occurred several times when Joseph inquired of the Lord what it all meant. Then he had an open vision and saw the devil in person, who contended with Joseph face to face for some time. He said it was his house, it belonged to him, and Joseph had no right there. Then Joseph rebuked Satan in the name of the Lord, and he departed and touched the child no more. So this is kind of an interesting occurrence. He claims, ownership of that house. And I kind of wonder if it has to do with what we're about to read next about Far West and Satan's role with Far West, with Cain and Abel. I don't know if it's related to that, but in any case, he was claiming the house that Joseph Smith lived in was his. And then he was harassing the child and making the child sick. Okay, we'll hop over to the David O. McKay Diaries. This is under the Mormon Studies part of the University of Virginia's website. And this, if I remember right, this is an old highlight that I haven't cleared yet. If I remember right, this was written by President Alvin R. Dyer, who was a counselor in the first presidency. So, June 7th, 1966. Supplement to the journal record of the visit of President David O. McKay to Adamond-Yaman. But starting with Far West. So, Far West. In connection with President McKay's visit at Far West on the date given, it is to be noted that while there, the president appeared somewhat overwhelmed. The place made a deep impression upon him, so much so that he referred to Far West a number of times in the it says ensuring, but I think it's supposed to be ensuing days, as a place of deep impression. Which, by the way, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like maybe it's just because I'm doing this channel now, but whenever I've gone to these church sites, I've been to Far West, I've been to Hans Mill, I've been to Adamond-Yaman, I've been to Independence, Missouri, Liberty Jail, I've been to Kirtland. Like, it really does. It really has a deep impression on you. It has for me anyway. Like the first time we went to Independence, I kind of wondered like, oh my gosh, I want to be here. That's kind of helping to influence this decision. But anyway, the feeling that President McKay had at Far West registered upon me once again, but now with greater impact. The events that transpired there are significant. A, the Lord proclaimed Far West a holy and consecrated land unto him, declaring to Joseph Smith that the very ground he stood on there was holy. B, The prophet Joseph Smith contended with the devil face to face for some time upon the occasion of the power of evil menacing one of his children in the prophet's home just west of the temple site. Lucifer declared that Joseph had no right to be there, that this was his place, whereupon the prophet rebuked Satan in the name of the Lord, and he departed and did not touch the child again. Yeah, so they're probably taking this from the life of Heber C. Kimball. But the way that they record it here seems to apply not just to the house, but maybe all of Far West. But anyway, and it would be interesting, you guys. Like, I don't know that we don't know this. I'm pretty sure we don't know this, but the site of these temples, like the temple that was supposed to be built in Far West, I wonder if it's going to be built on the site where Cain murdered Abel, to kind of like reverse it. Not that it reverses it, but to show that good triumphs over evil. It's kind of like how we have that temple in Preston, England, where you had this spiritual attack on these early elders of the church. But now, we have a temple there. And then the Liberty Jail, where Joseph Smith was incarcerated, not far from there, now we have the Kansas City, Missouri temple, which, by the way, is only going to be 17 minutes from where we're going to live. I'm very excited about that because as of right now, it takes us 2.5 hours to get to the Oklahoma City temple. The Wichita temple is currently under construction. I have pictures of it, but I'll have to show it like in a future video, but just 17 minutes away. Okay. C, the overwhelming feeling that President McKay had when he visited this sacred place. The answer: I have often pondered the holy significance of Far West, and even more so since President McKay's visit. The sacredness of Far West Missouri is no doubt due to the understanding that the prophet Joseph Smith conveyed to the brethren at these early times, that Adam-ondi-Ahman, the place to which Adam and Eve fled when cast out of the Garden of Eden, is where Adam erected an altar unto God and offered sacrifices, and that Far West was the spot where Cain killed Abel. Now, I still haven't been able to find like the primary source for that. I'm pretty sure at some point I searched the Joseph Smith Papers website, but if you know where I can find the original source of that, please let me know. For right now, I'm just getting it from the Diaries of David O. McKay. Oh, and by the way, sorry, I was going to say this too. It'd be interesting if the primary temple of the city of Zion, New Jerusalem, it'd be so interesting if that's where Adam was formed. Wouldn't that be so perfect? The place where humanity started and the first man was created. It'd be so interesting if that's exactly where that primary temple is going to be built. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, continuing. This information tends to explain why the Lord declared Far West to be a holy, consecrated place. It no doubt explains why Satan claimed that place as his own, as it was here that he entered into a covenant with Cain, resulting in the death of Abel, the first mortal existence upon this earth. It would appear that President McKay, while there, felt the spirit and significance of this holy place. So it's just interesting, like, just don't give in to fear. A lot of times fear is used as like a tool of manipulation when Satan or somebody is trying to get you to do something that they want you to do. Fear. And I don't know, maybe I'm sure all of us at some point have been manipulated, have forfeited blessings that could have been ours because, we were influenced by manipulation. But if you're confident, you've prayed and you've worked it out in your own head, like the Lord wants us to work out our own problems. And once we've done that, once we've like thought about it, come up with a plan, we take that to the Lord, and then he either approves of it or promises to do something else. Sometimes there's no right answer. Like you just do, like For example, it may not matter what your job is, like what your career is. It may not matter where you move to, you know, but if you know that you're doing the right thing and you've received signs, you feel the spirit, if it's like a family decision, you've all talked about it, prayed about it together, you feel peace, then you know that you're good. And when something comes along that is out of harmony with that and brings you a dark feeling, and that's like the biggest tell, you know, like what happened today, it was like a very dark feeling. It was uncomfortable. It was, just don't listen to it. Right? So that's it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.